Yeah, it was no nice thing.
All right, here we go. Basic configuration. I mean, everybody knows how to cable it, so I'm not going to go over that. As far as configuring for management, VLAN, okay, switch. There's a couple ways to configure VLANs or to create VLANs. Initially, all we're going to do is real easy. So we need to configure. We always need to configure a switch for remote connectivity, for remote management. And again, we want to, as we go forward, we're going to actually set up what's called trunk lines, and then the VLAN, that management VLAN plays even a bigger role. So right now, we're only configuring a VLAN with an IP separate from VLAN 1, and then we're going to expand on that. So as far as the switch goes, right, you enable the switch, right, then you're in user exec, right?
Yep.
Then you do en, right? And then config T, which gives you the switch, whatever you want to call the name, it doesn't matter, and then the config. And then I think it's pound sign, like that, something like that. Pretty close. I may be off a little bit on my syntax, but anyways, you're in switch global config mode, right? That's raw configuration. All you got to do is type in all right, now, in the past we did int VLAN 1, right? Just 1. And it puts you into VLAN. Now, VLAN 99 does not exist on a switch by default. So what do you think that command's going to do when you type that in? It will create it, exactly. And then it'll put us into VLAN config mode. All right? So then the next command is, all we got to do is do IP add, and then you're always going to be given the IP address. If we have a network with 3 switches, let's say if our network looked like this. And we got PC here, and the PC there, right? So real simple network, and then I mean, real basic, and then we probably have a router, right, for internet access, correct?
Yep.
And this would be how many networks? How many broadcast domains again? 1. 1 broadcast domain.
From the router.
Right, because this might have, let's say, we'll assume that this one has an address, we'll keep it simple, 192.168.1.1, okay? Similar to our lab. And with the subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, right? No big deal. It's got an address. Okay, so what's significant about that address in regards to all of these devices?
Default gateway.
It's their default gateway. Okay? All of them will use that address as their default gateway. All right? So the PC, and then now these switches will need 2 addresses, correct? So let's say this switch here, what address should we use for VLAN 99 on this switch? We'll say this one's switch 1, this one is switch 2, and this one is switch 3. This one could be 1, that could be 2, it doesn't matter. So what address are we going to assign to that for VLAN 99?
1.2.
Yeah, we can do 1.2. So we do 192.168.1.2 with a 255, right? Correct? That's for switch, we'll say switch 1. All right? Now, we have another command, and then we also have to do one more command to enable management of this one. Well, we actually have 2 more commands.
Is it exit?
Default gateway. No shut.
No shut.
Yeah.
And then-
And then exit.
No shut. Okay. Then we have to do exit. Okay.
But after you do the no shut, is that gonna show, it's gonna show that the VLAN is up? And then you have to space it again before you can do that.
Right. Because the next command that we have to do the default gateway command on the switch. That will allow us, on this one we wouldn't need to because they're all part of the same network, but if this was another network over there, we would need that command. All right? If the management traffic needed to get outside of this network, we would need to specify. But it doesn't, so we wouldn't. But we have it, so we'll use it. You guys follow all that one? He said, she said, whatever. But okay. So in order to configure the default gate, we have to be in global config. So then we exit, and that will take us back to global config. And then what's the command?
IP.
Default mask gateway.
Yeah, default, IP gateway, space, and then
The address of the
Router.
router. There you go. And then the PC could be, it could be, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, could be 5 and 6 as addresses. It really wouldn't matter. All right, now, so that's switch 1. Now, for switch 2, what IP address would we give to switch 2 for VLAN 99?
1.3.
1.3. Okay, and it's going to have the same
Default gateway.
default gateway. And then for switch 3, we would do
1.4.
1.4. So now, once all that's set up, from PC1, we should be able to ping PC3 with no problem. Or telnet into it, or remote configure it. Now, remember, this configuration here is not required for data communication. All right? Has no bearing whatsoever on PC's ability to communicate with this PC.
Yeah.
It's only for management traffic. That's it. Remote administration. That's the sole purpose of those two commands. Sole purpose. Everybody got that?
So
All
when
right.
you like an SSH into it, that's what you type.
Exactly. With that address, you could use Telnet or SSH, either one. And then, of course, you have to have the password set up and that. If you don't have the VTY or SSH set up, that ain't gonna work. But that's all part of our basic configuration. All right. Good. All right. All right. Now, there's another acronym, SVI. I think we talked about it in the first class. Switch Virtual Interface. That's essentially what we did. Because we don't have a physical VLAN 99. Because remember, you cannot assign an IP address to a switch port, correct? I think some of you guys accidentally tried to, and getting mixed up between the router and the switch. But your virtual interfaces you can assign an IP address to. Okay, there we go. I think that was it. And then, of course, to save the configuration, you would type
Copy RS.
Copy running dash config startup dash config.
yeah. The long form would be copy running dash config space startup dash config. Most of my switches you can do copy run start
Copy RS.
or copy RS. Did it work?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or copy R space S shortcut. So, but in packet tracer it usually wants the long form. All right. Enough on that one. All right, so once we have that configured, what command on a switch can we use to verify that we correctly assigned the addresses?
Interface brief.
Show IP interface brief, exactly. It will show that we have VLAN 99, it will show an IP address, and it will show whether it's up or not. Just like that. Show IP interface brief. Good. And then in the curriculum it has just the commands that I just went through. You could also do show running config. But show run's just gonna give you everything, but show IP interface brief is probably the better command to use to make sure you got it right. There's one thing that show IP interface brief does not show you. You guys know what it is?
The table.
No.
Say again?
There's one thing that show IP interface brief will not show you. Subnet mask. There you go. It doesn't. So you don't know if you mistyped the subnet mask incorrectly. That's where the show run will fill in that. So when I come around, you have questions and stuff. I don't know if you've never noticed. I usually run show IP interface brief, and then I follow it up with show run to make sure. Oh, you mistyped the subnet mask incorrectly. Yeah. So those two commands definitely. All right.
I just forget to encrypt all my passwords.
I think we'll do. There is a packet tracer and a hands-on. Well, there's several labs. But I think what we'll do. Quite a bit of stuff to do. Is work on there's one packet, the first packet tracer, which is configuring basic switch settings. It's just kind of reviewing, and we're going to do that, because you guys should be able to complete that pretty much today. I'll tell you which one it is here in just a second. Actually, this is the next one. Hang on. We'll do the hands-on one. All right, we're going to do the first hands-on lab. It's 2116. All you need is a PC and a switch. You've got 10, 20, half hour, and it shouldn't take much more than that. We almost did it all right now, all right? So lab 2116 on page 6. Make sure you fill out the lab manual as you're going through it. Once you're done, I check it, and then you won't have to submit anything or anything like that. Yeah.
Page 6, you said? Or 1-6?
You don't have lab manual yet?
No.
Oh. Borrow mine and then write in the question, or not write in the questions, but write them on paper.
Isn't that the
Maybe.
share file folders you give?
It might, but it's a lot easier, it's a lot quicker to have the book than to try to, trust me, it is.
Not up yet?
Huh? Thought it was up there.
Yeah, all the